Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fahzaly Advice, a podcast where we talk about mental health and everyday life and the challenges that we face. And of course, the advice that I can give to those in the hopes that I can give something of value. And I do want to take a second to say thank you to all of you that have supported this podcast, which is a passionate project of mine, and it means the world to me. So thank you from the very bottom of my heart. It truly, truly means so much that you enjoy, that you watch, and hopefully you find value in what I say. Now, let's get on into our first submission, which is brought to us by Gay in Hiding. And they write, Dear Fahza, so recently I just went through my 19th birthday, and I have a secret that I've been hiding from my family for some time. I'm gay. My boyfriend and I have been going out since I was 16. And I just started going to school for technical engineering. And I just really want to come clean with my family for several reasons. 1. My parents keep trying to set me up on dates with daughters of their coworkers. 2. My sister already suspects that I am gay and in a relationship. And 3, which this is going to sound horrible, but my incredibly conservative grandma passed away last year. And since then, my family has seemed to be more accepting. Before, I would constantly hear homophobic and racist comments coming from not only my parents, but even my sister when my grandmother was alive and around. But I am still apprehensive to say anything, as this is a double whammy. For not only am I gay with a boyfriend, my boyfriend is from Haiti, as I am from Korea. I think you can sort of understand my apprehension to coming out to a once conservative Korean family. But I'm tired of trying to hide things and the snide comments from my bitch of a sister. I am worried though that this will cause my family to, well, as archaic as it might sound, disown me. I would very much so like to hear your thoughts on this situation, Fahza. Sincerely, Gay in Hiding. Well, first, I would like to say thank you to the submitter for your courage and for trusting me with your conundrum, as this is an incredibly personal situation. Coming out to your pet, to your loved ones is personal and is very, very difficult, especially when you're in the shoes of, well, where you are. A conservative Asian family, a conservative family in general, is not one that is easy to accept the ideals of somebody that is part of the LGBTQ plus community. But ultimately it comes down to a few things. One of the main things is your family and whether or not they actually love you and accept you. Because here is one of the hard truths that some of us have to face, and thankfully some of us don't, which is ultimately, you don't need your family to accept you. You don't even need them to love you. Just because they're blood related doesn't mean that they have to stay relevant to your life. And this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. There's going to be many people out there that will disagree with me, and they are more than welcome to, because ultimately what I say here is an opinion. And it's like my grandpa has always said, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, but it's your choice to stick your face into it and get pink eye. So if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to. I'm not saying that you do. But what I am saying is that, in my perspective, this is what I see, what I've experienced, and the advice that I'm giving to this particular submitter. When it comes down to it, your family is who you make of it. Your family is those that are willing to stay no matter what, as long as you are staying true to you and not harming anybody. The people who love you will stay, as long as you are willing to accept you is what matters most. Being yourself is a great way to filter out the people that belong in your life and don't. Because the people that do belong will stay. The people that don't will walk away. And there is some form of solace that you can find in that. It might seem lonely. It might even seem cold to think in this way. But you will find the people who truly want to be in your life by being yourself, rather than filtering yourself out to be comfortable for others. Now, in regards to coming out to your family, especially one that is conservative, you might want to, one, consider a lot of factors when it comes to when and how you deliver this information. The number one thing is to be open, because as open as you will be, interestingly enough, more often than not, people will reciprocate in that openness, even though they might seem like they're not through their previous actions. And your parents might surprise you, because the sad truth is, when it comes down to it, coming out to your family is kind of a crapshoot. It can go either way. I've seen it go very badly and amazingly as well. But it's whether or not you want to shatter the veil for both yourself and for your family. For them to be able to see who you truly are, and for you to be able to see who they truly are through their actions and how they will, if they choose to, judge you. But that is something that you need to be ready for when you do this. Because it's not about it being a good moment or a bad moment. It is a moment of change, and change is jarring, and some people will not be ready for that. And that is something that you need to be ready to accept, no matter what the case may be. If they don't accept you, if they can't accept you in that moment, then that's fine. Because you said your piece and you were true to yourself. And if they can't respect that, if they can't see the courage in that, then that is their folly. And that is for them to miss out on when it comes to the amazing person that you are. But you don't need to mute yourself for anybody. And you shouldn't be thinking about that for the people whom you think love you. And if they truly do love you, they will accept you. They will be happy that you trusted them enough to say something, to be open. At least people who care about you will be. But I also understand why your apprehension is there. Because one, you are 19, you are still young, and there are some reliances that you may have on your family. That might not be the case. I'm not entirely sure, because that is not exactly something that was revealed in this submission. And with that, there are things that are missing here in this particular puzzle. And as I state in many episodes of Fahzaly Advice, context and nuance are important. Not every situation can be judged by another situation. You have to embrace the unique, chaotic concept that is life, that consistently happens. Because Murphy's Law is always at play, and you never know what's going to happen next. No matter what, you might think you do, and sometimes it might fall in line coincidentally with what you might think happens. But Ultimately, there are small changes that occur. There are little nuances that if you are willing to be able to open your eyes to, you will see that it's not as you predicted. And life can't be predicted as easily as you might think. Your family might surprise you in so many ways. And your bitch of a sister, as you put it, might be this way because she is just as tired as you are of you hiding who you are. And in a way, as selfish as this sounds, to her, to your sister whom might, I don't know, actually, it's not really well conveyed in this particular submission, but your sister who might care for you very much might be insulted by the fact that you're hiding this, that you don't trust her, and you're still muting yourself when you have no need to. When the only true point of contention that might have been there from what your submission has said, which is your grandmother, is no longer there. And I don't think it's horrible. I don't. It's not horrible to be relieved when somebody horrible is no longer part of your life. You're not necessarily celebrating the fact that they died. You're celebrating the fact that you are freed by the fact that their presence is no longer there. There's a difference. It's a matter of perspective. A lot of life is a matter of perspective. But the one that matters most in life is yours. Because you're the one living it. You're the one perceiving it. You're the one experiencing it. So you have choices that you need to make here. And you need to ready yourself for the consequences of those choices. Because no matter what, our actions have consequences. We might not like it. We might not be ready for it. But are you ever ready truly for what life may bring when you don't know what happens next? Or will you be able to embrace uncertainty and live? That's on you, though. That is on you. Truly, though, I believe that you have the strength to be able to continue on no matter what the answer may be, whether your parents accept you or not. Because it seems like there are people in your life that care. And even if it might not seem like that to you, whether you know it or not, there are people who care. There are people who love you and will continue to love you. But what's most important is you being able to love yourself. Love yourself enough to be yourself, no matter what. Because the only thing and the only person that's hurt by hiding away who you are, by not embracing who you are, is you. No one else. It doesn't harm anybody for you to be you. It doesn't. Despite what some people may have had you think. Consider this. And as I stated, be ready to accept what may come. Because if they don't accept you, as long as you can accept you, that's all that matters. Alright? So I hope one day, someday, very, very, very soon, that you will no longer be gay in hiding. You will be gay in pride. And I thank you for your submission. Now, before we move on to our second submission, I want to share with you some of the things that I do as a content creator.
Well, hey there, everybody. Mr. Announcer and
Random Skull?
And we're here to let you know that Asian Pasha Gamer also streams live on Twitch 5 days a week and sometimes on YouTube.
And if you want to continue to support Asian Pasha Gamer, check out the links for his Twitch and his YouTube, all in the link tree.
That's right. Check out those links. Well, hey everybody. Did you know that Agent Fahzaly Gamer has a Patreon?
That's right, and Random Skull is here to help tell you about it.
And that's right, we're doing this announcement together.
And when you subscribe to Patreon, you get to see content early, and of course, make requests for content on YouTube, and even on Twitch and TikTok. It's all up to you.
And of course, if you want to support Agent Fahzaly Gamer, check out these links. And of course, there are also links in the link tree.
And remember, when you subscribe to Patreon, you can also leave a message saying that Random Skull is better than Mr. Announcer.
Now, was that even really necessary?
Well, everybody, welcome back. I do hope that those of you that are watching and continue to watch found value in our first submission, as that is a regular situation that is faced by many of the youth daily, and it is sad how many of them out there don't realize that not only do they have the strength to be themselves, they have the strength to shine in the light of who they truly are. Now then, let's get on into our second submission, shall we? And this one is brought to us by Feelin' for My Roommate. And they write, "Hey Fahza, thank you for taking the time to read my submission. I sent this to your personal email, but I hope that you not only see this, but will treat this with the discretion I trust not only your podcast for, but you as a person for." I appreciate that, and of course I will. And I did see this, obviously, so thank you so much for your submission. I am in a bit of a bind here, which is embarrassing for me being an adult, but still dealing with the social awkward environment of dating and being single. After almost a 6-month-long stint of being of absolute trash in the dating world, I decided to take a break. And during this break, my roommate and I started hanging out a lot more, since he recently broke up with his girlfriend. We have been having a lot of fun. I mean, way more fun than I have had in the last 6 months dating Andrew Tate idolizing Jason Paul wannabe assholes who think their pec size and their alpha male attitude is what attracts a woman. I mean, seriously, it's sitcom levels of embarrassing when dudes act like that. Either way, since we have been hanging out, we have had 2 awkward moments. One where he and I were a little tipsy and we kissed. It wasn't a bad kiss. In fact, it was awesome. The other time was when he said I was the perfect girl. The other time was when he said his perfect girl would be someone like me while we were watching a movie. I laughed and I thought he was being cute, but he got really quiet afterwards, like he regretted saying it. We are still having fun hanging out, going to dinner, watching movies together, and to be fair, I definitely feel a connection. But whenever we almost get to the point of maybe one of us doing something that might turn our friendship into something more, one of us pulls back a little. Am I reading too much into this? Should I say something? Is this going to ruin the friendship? I am at the moment in territory I am not completely familiar with, and I could use some outside perspective here, Fahza. Sincerely, Feeling for My Roommate. Well, Feeling for My Roommate. First off, I want to let you know that you have nothing to be embarrassed about. The social awkwardness of the dating environment and being single is something that everybody will face in all ages of their life at some point, unless of course they are lucky enough to meet that certain special someone that they'll spend the rest of their life with. That takes time to find and isn't honestly something that you find easily or readily. Now then, with that being said, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to make this into a joke in any way, shape, or form. But y'all hang out, y'all go to dinner, you watch movies together, you live together. Y'all are going out without the going out part, if that makes sense. The only thing that y'all are missing is the romantic part of this relationship, which, from what you have submitted here, both of y'all have inklings of. But none of y'all have jumped the gun yet, which may be due on part, at least may be due on his part, the apprehensiveness coming from the fact that he was recently in a relationship that ended. Depending on how important that relationship was, that's going to take time for him to not only get over, but to find himself again outside of that relationship. Because I cannot stress this enough. When you come out of a relationship, my personal belief is that it is incredibly important for someone, the individual, to find who they are outside of a relationship before they get into another one, so that they can become comfortable in who they are in a way that allows them to accept somebody new without comparing them constantly to the relationship that they had previously, which is a difficulty that happens when people rush into a relationship after one has ended. And it's something that I see time and time again. And that might be where his apprehensiveness is coming from, which you might just need to give him time, because y'all are having fun. Keep having fun. Ain't nothing wrong with that. And I understand you being tired of that mentality that you dealt with within the dating world, that whole, alpha dog mentality, I gotta be a man kind of nonsense that we see so prevalent, especially ever since the misconceived notion of the alpha role created from the study of wolves and primal and I don't know, what's the word? Primitive thought processes. I'm just saying. Now, that aside, because that is not the issue here. The issue here is, as your name states, you are feeling for your roommate, and you're afraid that stepping forward might damage a relationship, one that you don't want to damage. And I understand this. This is a situation that happens all too often. And here's the thing. As I stated in the previous submission, Murphy's Law is always at play. You never know what's gonna happen. You two both might be just standing there in purgatory, waiting for someone to step forward. I'm not saying that you have to be this person. I'm not saying that he has to be this person. I'm just saying someone might have to. Otherwise, it'll never be anything more than just having fun. And if that's all you want, that's okay. If that's all he wants, that's okay. But there's nothing wrong with having the conversation. Bringing clarity to the situation doesn't break anything. If anything breaks from clarifying and conversing and talking, it was broken long ago, and it was never going to be fixed. At least that's what I believe. Because communication should be the glue, not the stone that shatters the glass. Because communication is key in any relationship, be it a friendship, romantic, platonic, workplace. In any one of these forms of relationships, communication is the most important part of the equation. Without it, there's no real relationship. There's just two people being and emoting and talking, but until you recognize that it's nothing, it doesn't mean anything. Relationships only have meaning when we allow them to, through our actions. Our actions are the most important part of who we are, because that is the only way that we can manipulate the reality in front of us. And I use that word not in the sense of you need to manipulate somebody to get what you want. I mean that you need to realize that you have the power to change what's in front of you by taking action, taking accountability and responsibility. And sitting there wondering about what could be, why it could be, and what should be leads to absolutely nothing until you do something about it. And as odd as this might sound, there is something selfish about being shy, because you never give the chance for something truly beautiful to grow until you get over that shyness. And shyness is really only about you, isn't it? It only protects you. And it's something to consider in this moment, in this instance. But also, as I stated, it could also be the matter of he isn't ready. And if he isn't ready, try your best, as difficult as it is, to try and read his body language when you try to bring up something like this. If his body language is highly uncomfortable, end the conversation. Keep having fun and wait until he's in a better place where he seems to be ready to have this conversation, to maybe open up your friendship into something more than just having fun. But ultimately, as I stated, what y'all are doing, going out to dinner, having fun together, hanging out, going to movies, you're in a relationship without the romantic part, pretty much. Might be something to talk about too when it comes to bringing this conversation up. But be tactful. Be tactful and realize that he might be going through a lot more tough times than he might be letting on, because a breakup is not easy to deal with. And I'm not saying he's using you as a rebound or anything like that. What I'm saying is, these are all things to consider when you have a conversation. So I hope that this outside perspective helps you in some way. I do. And that ultimately you do take some action to begin, at the very least, to begin opening the door of communication to the conversation that needs to be had for both of you, so that there might not be that awkwardness anymore, and that there might be a clear understanding of where both of you stand. Maybe he doesn't see it this way. Maybe he's not ready for a relationship and he doesn't want a relationship. But that might not be the case from a lot of what you're saying here. But again, once again, as I always state, context and nuance needs to be considered in every situation, including this one. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Consider what needs to be considered before you move forward. Alright? And I truly do hope that I was able to help in some way. That I was able to help anybody and a few others that are in a similar situation. And that this ultimately leads to a resolution. Now, thank you all so much for joining me for today's Fahzaly Advice. But it's time for the love train to get rolling on through. Choo choo. I love every single freaking one of you.
Well, everybody, that's the end of Fahzaly Advice. I hope you did enjoy this episode and you found some value in what I said.
And of course, if you are interested in participating, if you need some advice or some perspective, feel free to email the address at the end of this part. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Need some perspective? Need some advice? Want your submission read on podcast? Well, email Fahza at fahzalyadvice@gmail.com. And remember, all submissions are 100% anonymous unless requested upon.